happening is we're going to pay a courtesy call on the regents. Now, I'm just going to show you the torch that we're going to be taking around, and that will end my submission. So this is the torch that we're going to be taking around. This is the official torch that will end up March 8th at the opening ceremony, and this is the torch that will light the games flames, and the games flames will be going on from March 8th to the close of the games, March 23rd, where the flames are put out, signifying the end of the games. So, as Chairman also said earlier on, we are working on some great past sports heroes and sheroes to be able to do the relay.
All go online and go and find out when it started, how it started, what happened, and all those sort of things. But from the media perspective, I wanted to focus a bit more on what the journalist knows and doesn't know. And that's the painful thing about it. Sometimes you listen to some journalists, and because they've got the gift of the gab, they think that's it. But then when answers are being given to questions that they may ask, because they haven't done adequate research on that particular discipline of sport, then it becomes a problem. And suddenly the person who is not supposed to get away gets away with murder and populates all manner of things you can think of. So, obviously, we are all aware that these games were proposed back in 1920 by one of the founders of the Olympic Games. But you know what happened? The truth of the matter was that the colonial master didn't want it, because he felt it was going to lead to all manner of crazy things. So they kept on shelving it. Baron de Corbin kept on insisting, let them have the African Games, let them have Africa, whatever it is. At the end of the day, when African countries began to get their independence, then obviously there was going to be coming together. And of course, we are all aware that in 1965, that was the first Games in Congo, then Congo Brazzaville, as it was called then. I really had to go back and go and look through the newspapers, thanks to Graphic, thanks to Times, thanks to Ministry of Information, and found out that at the first Games, we had only 12 medals. I'm using the word only in quotation marks, 12 medals. 2 gold, 5 silver, 5 bronze. And some names that I grew up, particularly in the 70s, names that Pamela will remember, that Kweku will remember, and I'm confident that you also remember. In terms of it, rest will remember. Sule Shitu, the boxer. Many have forgotten. Sule Shitu was there. And he won bronze for Ghana. So we've had this history. And don't forget also that at that time there was something called SCSA, Supreme Council for Sports in Africa. They used to organize so many things. It was all under the ambit of the OAU, not AU. OAU. Okay? And so, 1965, 1973 in Lagos, 1978 in Algiers, and then a 9-year gap, 1987. Madness. How can you have a tournament that you are supposed to have it every 4 years and sometimes 5 years, sometimes 7 years, whatever it was? Since 87, it's been happening every 4 years, even though with some level of difficulty. And you're all aware of the fights between the AU, the owners of the game, ANOCA, which simply is Association of National Olympic Committee of Africa, and the Association of Sports Confederations. Because it's in French, they call it UCSA. Me, I don't call it UCSA. Everything is English. So I just say AASG. Okay? The battle over who has those games is what led to this major delay. Nobody, and I'm not here to defend anybody. As Peter said, I come here not to praise, but I come here to do a critical analysis of it. Already you had your COVID problems. You had your financial crisis problems. And then now you have these three institutions. How they settle it, I don't know. All I do know is that they caused us major problems. Having said that, you notice that if you go to the games or the sporting disciplines that are being put in this particular games, I'm sure, if I were to ask you, who knows what esports is? Who can explain it to me? That's where I have a problem. Because we see those things there and then we just leave it as it is. Oh, esports. It's not football. It's not boxing. It's not track and field. But you need to know what esport is. Because just 4 months later, in July ending, the Olympic Games. And are you aware that the Olympic Games has something they call breaking? It's a new sport. Breaking. You know what it is? Break dancing. That's part of the Olympic Games. Break dancing. And that break dancing is being put in there because the Gen Z generation cannot necessarily associate with only football, boxing, and all those things that when I was growing up was part of it. They are now, they have their own sport. If you take a look at, let me even go a bit. If you take a look at skateboarding. Skateboarding. You know skateboarding? It's now going to be an Olympic. Because as you are hitting 40 and 50, and I'm hitting 60 and 70, the Gen Zs are hitting 20. They are the ones who go to the games. So, Ghana decides that, okay, let's go according to what's happening. And so we have esports. We have MMA. These are demonstration sports. They haven't been incorporated yet. But MMA will be in the 2028 Olympics. MMA, for those who don't know, mixed martial arts. And that's the problem. And so we won't go and read about how the scoring is done. We see it, we see the kicks, we see the punch, and we presume that it's scored like boxing. No. And that's where we need to go back. Okay. There is something here I haven't had time to even find out. Boss, pickleball. I don't know. Pickleball. And these are demonstration sports. And these are the sports that will go. Listen, I was privileged enough to go to the Commonwealth Games. And I was invited for a session. Now, how do you call those? I'm sorry for being naive. I'm an old person. But those things that you use your phone and those, how do you call that thing that you people? PlayStation.
Console games.
Thank you. That's one of the games. Console games. They are soon to be introduced at not only the Commonwealth Games, but the Olympic Games. And so as media people, we've got to, because assuming that we've got people who know how to do it yet, and we send a team there, we should be able to explain to the public what it's all about. And so Kautufor sits here. God damn it, he doesn't even know pickleball. He doesn't know tech ball. I do know tech ball. How many of you know tech ball? Hey, and you would know. You're not part of it, and pretend and stay out of it. How many of us know tech ball? How many? Please, give me a to do that.